Today I'm inside a 2020 Outback taking a look at Subaru's latest infotainment and navigation system. You're going to see this in not just the 2020 Outback, but also the related 2020 Legacy. Nestled right in the center of the dashboard is this nearly 12-inch color touchscreen LCD. We still have some physical buttons on each side, so temperature controls for the driver and front passenger, power and volume knob, tune knob right over there, and then controls for the front and rear defroster are physical on each side, but you can also do those functions right here in the touchscreen if you're interested in that as well. Perhaps the most surprising thing about this infotainment system, I guess you would say, is not really this infotainment system itself, but the fact that this is going to be standard in all but the base trims of the Outback and the Legacy. So this is the screen that the majority of shoppers for 2020 are going to be getting. If you don't get this screen, then you get two smaller 7-inch LCDs, one which does essentially the same functions right down here at the bottom, and then one up on top that controls the infotainment system. But we're of course here to talk about this big screen. You'll notice that Apple CarPlay operates in this area of the screen. If we had Android Auto, it would also be in this same area up here. Up top, we have the functions that in most Subarus of the past have been on a separate LCD. So you can see we have the status of our infotainment system right there, Apple CarPlay. We've moved all the way over. We have outdoor temperature clock right there, the status of the vehicle's onboard cell modem. We can scoot across these screens, see things like our water temperature, oil temperature, angle, weather report right there, X mode shortcuts on and off. And then we can get navigation via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, or if you opt for it, the built-in factory navigation. If I move on over to there, you'll notice we then get this larger portrait orientation map, and I can expand it to use even more of the screen. This bottom section of the display is reserved for the climate control functions exclusively. If I click over here, you can see that we can raise and lower the temperature right there. We can sync them together. We can also control the seat heating and seat ventilation from those controls. We have a corresponding control right there for the passenger seat, pull up. The rest of the climate controls right via there. You can click there for full auto or part auto. And this is the only place where you'll be able to control fan speed, where the air is coming out of, and of course that auto mode, because we just have those physical buttons for the temperature up and down. Going back to the home screen right there, you'll see again we have that button for the map, radio, media, phone, apps, car info, Subaru Starlink, direct access to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and then My Subaru over there. If I swipe over to the other side, this is where we find vehicle settings. Let's go ahead and explore this menu. General settings, of course, here for the Wi-Fi hotspot, the display itself, climate control, language, etc., the welcome screen. You can also change things like the birthday list, anniversary list for it to remind you. There's a software update option right there as well. And you can choose whether you want Starlink to auto connect or not. On the sound tab, this is where you would control things for the audio system only. So for instance, the beeps, the ringtone. We dig through here, this is where we'll get the sound customization for the equalizer, bass, middle, treb, the balance and fader, etc. This particular vehicle does have the up-level Harman Kardon audio system. If we move over to navigation, as you'd expect, these are things that relate just to the factory navigation system. Same thing with phone, and of course the radio option there as well. The car tab is where we can customize the safety systems in the vehicle. So for instance, EyeSight is their all-encompassing safety system. This allows us to change the way that, for instance, the cruise control acceleration functions, dynamic, standard, comfort, or eco. That makes the response a little bit snappier right there. Can also change the way that EyeSight's lane keeping assistance system functions. At the bottom of the screen, in addition to the home button, we have some additional buttons. The car button takes us to vehicle settings. This allows us to adjust settings like the steering responsive headlamps, traction control, X mode, driving assistance features, and other features a little bit more rapidly than wading through the menus. The other button is the profile button that works with the driver recognition system that this model has. There's a facial recognition camera right here above the screen. It functions like the facial recognition on the latest iPhone models. It will recognize the driver and adjust vehicle profiles based on them. In addition to the smartphone integration, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, we also have apps that run through the Subaru Starlink system here as well. I don't have all of these downloaded, and I have pretty spotty cell coverage where I'm reviewing this vehicle right now, so I don't have access to all of the various options here. But you can see on this list right here all the various apps that are available via this type of integration. We have, for instance, Waze integration, which is a nice handy feature if you don't want to use CarPlay or Android Auto, but you want to use Waze, Pandora, Stitcher, Glimpse, etc., all these various options right here. There also is an integration for an app that will give you national park information, we're told. This is the first vehicle that the app will be available on via the Starlink system. We then also have the My Subaru option right here, where you can make appointments for vehicle service, request roadside assistance right in there. There's a car info option, which will give you the status of the all-wheel drive system, your inclination. Click over that advanced package. It'll show you the safety systems and what is functioning and what is not functioning. We can click the info button and get information about the various safety systems right there. And we can click over to maintenance and see maintenance reminders. Overall, this infotainment system is pretty impressive. It's snappy, it's very easy to use, it's fairly intuitive, although some of those menus do get a little bit deep. And most importantly, Subaru has designed this to be on all of the Subaru Outback and Legacy models except for that absolute base trim. You can tell that this car was definitely designed for this display in mind. Now let's talk about the downsides. The first and most obvious one is that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto only operate in this upper section of the display, and overall, that's kind of a small area. It's high resolution, it is easy to use and easy to see, but we don't get that much screen real estate. The other thing is that when Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are functioning, we just get this display down here at the bottom. That's all that we get. So we cannot combine Apple CarPlay, for instance, with car info. We can't combine Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with a My Subaru app or a Starlink app or the vehicle's own mapping interface. And personally, I think that's a little bit of a pity because I would like to be able to see Apple CarPlay's mapping interface or Waze or something along those lines and some of those other options down below. The other thing that I found interesting is that this upper section of the screen just shows what we're seeing right here. And I can't click on any of these and get any more information. So I can't click on angle and get that off-road information screen. I can't click on this and get an expanded weather report. I just toggle between those two displays. And when I click over here to the X mode, nothing changes on the display. It simply turns that X mode on and off. It acts as a shortcut. As a result of some of these limitations, I do find the Uconnect large format infotainment system just a little bit snazzier, but again, that system only happens at much higher price points than this. This is the least expensive large format infotainment system available in the US at this time. Be sure and let me know what you think about this infotainment system down there in the comment section below, and of course, be sure to check out our first drive review of the 2020 Subaru Outback. You'll find that on our channel after July 29th. And then, of course, stay tuned for our full review of the Outback and the 2020 Legacy just as soon as we can get our hands on those vehicles.